We've journeyed through beliefs, probable selves, simultaneous time, framework two, and the architecture of the psyche. But I'm left with the ultimate question. Where does matter itself come from? What is the stuff of reality made of? Seth talks about consciousness units, CUs. What are they and how do they become the chair I'm sitting on, the body I'm inhabiting, the stars in the sky?
Consciousness units form the basis of all energy and matter. They are the building blocks of the universe, and they are aware.
Okay, hearing it stated plainly like that, I mean, it just completely shatters the baseline assumptions of standard physics, doesn't it? Like, if you look at the back of your hand right now, standard science says it's just biology, right? Dead matter organized by evolution. But what if it's a buzzing community of highly aware entities?
Yeah, it is arguably the most radical proposition in the entire Seth corpus. And that specific quote, by the way, comes from the late session material, from Dreams, Evolution, and Value Fulfillment. So for this deep dive, we are pulling from the absolute most advanced physics and cosmology that Seth ever dictated.
Right, the real heavy hitters.
Exactly. We are stacking Dreams, Evolution, and Value Fulfillment Volumes 1 and 2, right alongside the really dense mechanics found in the Unknown Reality Volume 2, and obviously the foundational world building of Seth Speaks. And our mission today is to explore the absolute foundations of physical reality. We want to examine these aware units from which literally all form emerges.
So we're trying to fundamentally alter how you, the listener, perceive the solid world around you, right? Like translating these massive cosmic mechanics into something practical.
Yes, exactly. To make it felt in your daily life. Because, well, let's bypass the basic. You create your reality primer. We know that premise. But standard science still tells us that the universe started as dead matter, right? Gases, gravity, colliding in this massive mechanical accident.
Right, the Big Bang. And then consciousness somehow just miraculously sparked to life billions of years later as a byproduct of complex biology, which Seth inverts completely.
Totally inverse it. Before there was matter, there was consciousness.
But wait, how does he explain the actual timeline of that? If consciousness predated matter, what was it doing before there was a physical here to inhabit? I mean, where was it?
Well, so Seth describes this pre-manifestation state.
Yeah.
And in this state, consciousness rested within the massive, infinite subjectivity of all that is. But I really want to stress this was not just some dormant, empty void.
Okay, so it wasn't just floating around doing nothing.
No, not at all. It was a realm of agonizingly rich potential. Within this divine gestalt, individualized consciousnesses actually existed, but they were veiled in subjectivity. Seth calls these early unmanifested versions of our species sleepwalkers.
Sleepwalkers, I love that term. But if there is no physical world yet, I mean, what are they walking through? What is the actual nature of that sleep state?
Right, so the term really refers to their focus. Their primary attention was turned inward, deeply connected to their divine heritage, rather than outward toward a physical environment because, well, there wasn't one yet. But in this state, they weren't idle at all. They were drafting the universe. They literally dreamed the world into being.
Wow, literally dreaming it. So like the physical laws, the geometry of space, all of that.
Everything. The biological blueprints, the ecosystems, these were all mentally constructed first. They dreamed all the myriad of forms that were physically possible. Seth states they even dreamed their languages.
Wait, languages before they had vocal cords?
Yeah. They communicated in these vast subjective dreamscapes long before they ever formed physical vocal cords to, vibrate air molecules. It was all a massive cooperative psychic blueprinting process.
Okay, but if these early consciousnesses are just dreaming in a void, how does a thought actually cross the threshold and gain physical weight? Because, I mean, a dream is immaterial. I can dream of a boulder, but it doesn't crush me. How did the sleepwalkers push their dream into what we now perceive as solid, objective reality?
And that boundary crossing is exactly the core of Seth's physics. This is where he introduces the consciousness unit, or the CU.
Okay, the building block. Let's get into it.
Standard physics looks for the ultimate building block of reality, right? They find the atom, then the proton, then quarks, then quantum fluctuations. They keep going smaller.
Right, looking for the base physical particle.
Exactly. But Seth insists that the fundamental unit of reality is not a physical particle at all. It is a CU, a unit of aware energy. It's not a thing in the way we think of things. It is a dynamic, creative impulse, and it is endowed with unpredictability.
Unpredictability. No, wait, hold on. If I'm building a universe, I want my building blocks to be incredibly predictable. Like if I build a house out of bricks, I really don't want the bricks to spontaneously decide to be something else. Why is unpredictability a feature rather than a massive flaw here?
That's a great question. But think about it. A purely predictable universe is just a closed mechanistic loop. It runs down like a wound-up clock heading toward entropy.
Oh, right. It just decays.
Yes. So the innate unpredictability of the CU is actually the engine of infinite expansion. It allows for constant, spontaneous creation. Every single CU possesses a primitive awareness and an unquenchable drive toward what Seth calls value fulfillment.
Okay, value fulfillment. We hear that constantly in the later books, but let's ground that a bit. What does value fulfillment actually look like for a microscopic, non-physical unit of awareness? Like, what does it want?
It's the internal mandate to combine, complexify, and express life's highest quality. A CU basically wants to fulfill its own potentials in all possible variations.
So it just wants to experience everything it can be.
Exactly. And it seeks to do this in a way that simultaneously furthers the creative potentials of every other portion of reality. So it's an inbuilt, cooperative exuberance. It wants to experience more, to add to the very quality of existence. It's not selfish, it's cooperative.
So how does this highly motivated, unpredictable unit of awareness relate to the quantum particles that a physicist actually measures in a lab, like an electron, for instance?
Well, Seth's analogy here is quite striking. He says that compared to a CU, an electron is a slow dullard.
A slow dullard. That's a bold claim, considering an electron orbits a nucleus millions of times in a billionth of a second. I mean, to our instruments, it's the definition of dynamic.
Sure, it appears dynamic to us, but only within the constraints of our space and time. CUs, on the other hand, exist outside of space and time entirely. They are the psychological particles that actually form the electron.
Wow, okay. So the electron is just the shadow of the CU.
Essentially, yes. A CU can operate in two primary states, which kind of mirrors, but vastly expands upon, the wave-particle duality in quantum mechanics. So when a CU operates as a particle, it establishes boundaries. It takes on specific identity.
Right. It's like it says, I am here localized in this specific form.
Exactly. And this particle state is what builds up our experience of continuity in time. It localizes to create a point of reference for us.
Okay, that makes sense for the particle state. But what happens in its wave state?
In a wave state, a CU completely drops those boundaries. It ceases to defend a localized identity, and instead, it exists in all places at the exact same time.
All places at once?
Yes. It becomes completely aware of the position, the relative situation, and the experience of every other CU in existence.
Let's follow the logic there. Because a CU in its wave state is literally everywhere at once, it doesn't need to send a signal across physical space to communicate, right? It just inherently possesses the information of the whole.
You've got it. The implications for biology alone there are just staggering. It means a cell in your body knows the exact position of every other cell on the planet.
That is wild.
It knows the position of a leaf falling in a forest halfway across the globe. Life is highly cooperative because the physical world is beginning anew at each microscopic point where these units assert themselves, armed with the knowledge of the entire system.
Okay, so we have CUs operating as waves and particles, communicating instantaneously, but we still haven't crossed the threshold into the tangible world. How does a non-physical aware impulse become the heavy wooden chair I'm sitting on?
Right. To understand that jump, we have to look at the mechanics detailed in the unknown reality, and Seth speaks regarding EE units.
E units.
Electromagnetic energy units. See, a CU does not just passively sit there. It is propelled by emotional intensity. When a CU, or a gestalt of CUs, reaches a certain pitch of emotional desire, it intensifies its intent to be. This explosive spark of primal desire transforms the CU into an EE unit.
Emotion is the propellant. I mean, that completely challenges the notion that emotion is just a chemical reaction in the brain. Some is saying emotion is the actual force that changes the state of foundational reality.
Yes, emotion is the gravity of the inner universe. Thoughts and emotions spontaneously exist as complex electromagnetic units. These EE units are the incipient blueprints of matter.
So they aren't physical yet.
Not quite. They haven't emerged into physical form yet, but the die is cast. They have entered the screening process necessary for materialization.
Okay, so it's like my thoughts and emotions act as an invisible magnetic field, and physical matter is just the iron filings aligning to that specific field.
That analogy holds perfectly. Matter is literally coagulated consciousness. But the actual mechanism of how those iron filings get arranged brings us to one of the most technical and fascinating aspects of Seth's cosmology. Coordinate points.
Right, coordinate points, invisible intersections in space. This is where it gets really dense in the book. Walk us through how a coordinate point actually functions.
Okay, imagine the space around you is not empty. It is laced with an invisible geometric webwork. And where the lines of this web intersect, you have coordinate points.
And there are different types, right?
Yes, Seth divides these into absolute, main, and subordinate points. But basically, they're essentially invisible psychic generators or transformers.
What exactly are they transforming, though?
They are transforming non-physical energy into physical mass. When highly charged EE units, and remember these are your thoughts and emotions, hit one of these coordinate points, the latent spontaneity within the EE unit is massively magnified.
Like a magnifying glass in the sun.
Exactly. The coordinate point accelerates the energy, slowing down its frequency just enough that it coagulates. It literally crystallizes into physical matter.
Okay, let's apply this to the listener's daily life so it doesn't just sound like abstract geometry. Let's say you, the listener, are sitting in rush hour traffic. You are frustrated, anxious, entirely focused on the fact that you are going to be late. Are you literally radiating dense E units of frustration?
You absolutely are. Your intense emotional state is emitting a constant stream of highly charged EE units. These units go flying out from your inner self, hitting the subordinate coordinate points that exist in the air inside your car, in the asphalt below.
So what happens then? Does the car suddenly get heavier? Does the steering wheel materialize more solid rubber?
Well, it alters the physical environment on a microscopic level.
Oh.
It builds literal physical tension into the atmosphere. The energy has to go somewhere, right? So it coagulates into the environment. It can affect the microscopic structural integrity of the objects around you, the biology of your own body, and even intertwine with the EE units being radiated by the angry driver in the car next to you.
Wow. So you are collectively thickening the physical reality of a traffic jam.
Exactly. You're feeding it.
Which means the environment is never neutral. Like the chair I am sitting on, the desk in front of me, they aren't just static objects manufactured 5 years ago and just sitting here inertly.
No, the solidity of the chair is a brilliantly maintained illusion. Seth uses the famous blue couch example to explain this.
Oh, I love the blue couch example. Let's get into that.
Okay, so suppose two people are sitting in a room looking at a blue couch. Standard physics tells us there is one objective couch, composed of matter, existing independently of the observers. If we measure it, it's the exact same length.
Because it's a fixed object in space, allegedly.
Right. But Seth argues that you are not perceiving the same couch at all. Without your specific human perceptive mechanisms, your highly specialized optical nerves, your tactile receptors, your neurological processing, you wouldn't perceive the couch as solid at all.
So another being might just walk right through it.
A consciousness tuned to a different frequency would walk right through it, completely unaware of our famous blue couch.
So if there is no single objective couch, what are we actually sitting on? How do we both agree not to fall to the floor?
You are participating in a massive, instantaneous telepathic agreement. You are each translating your expectations into your own individual physical constructions of the couch.
So I have my couch and you have yours, but they overlap.
Yes. Telepathically, we transpose our ideas in line with what we know of the other person's thinking. We reach an unconscious consensus that the couch is here, it is this long, and it is blue. And because our human senses are tuned to the exact same frequencies, we both materialize a nearly identical physical pattern.
Wait, but if the seas are unpredictable, as we discussed earlier, why doesn't the couch spontaneously turn into a table? How does it maintain its shape day after day?
Because of the commanding intent to the perceivers. The CUs forming the couch are willingly adopting that pattern to fulfill their own value fulfillment in that specific moment. They're cooperative.
They want to be a couch for us.
Right. Your collective belief, your expectation that the couch will still be there when you wake up tomorrow, acts as a continuous directive. You are instructing the EE units to keep hitting the coordinate points in that specific geometric pattern.
Unbelievable.
The couch is literally an oscillating, ever-moving, highly charged gestalt of EE units organized and maintained by your collective inner selves. It is a litified emotion.
So when Seth says you create your reality, it's literally true at the most fundamental level. My beliefs are instructing CUs how to arrange themselves.
Exactly. You are not just interpreting reality, you are participating in its moment-by-moment construction.
Let's shift from the cosmic to the deeply personal, though. Because, absorbing this information is one thing. Living it is another entirely. Jane Roberts, the woman who spoke for Seth, was receiving this incredibly advanced, paradigm-shattering material about CUs during the later years of her life, specifically while she was dictating dreams, evolution, and value fulfillment.
Right.
But her physical body was severely failing her at that time. How did she process this immense, infinite framework while confined to a physical body that seemed broken?
That juxtaposition is honestly one of the most profound aspects of the Seth material's history. Jane's human brain was wired for our three-dimensional reality just like ours. Trying to neurologically process the mechanics of nonlinear time, wave state CUs, and coordinate points was exhausting for her.
I can only imagine.
The data was so vast it constantly threatened to overwhelm her psychological structures.
Yeah, because it's hard enough to think about invisible psychic intersections accelerating emotion into matter when you're completely healthy. To do it while in chronic physical pain requires an immense toll. Seth was telling her that understanding CUs was the key to bridging science and spirituality. But how did that bridge apply to her own rheumatoid arthritis?
Well, Seth was very clear that until science and humanity at large recognizes that atoms and molecules possess condensed consciousness, we are only dealing with camouflage. We are studying the shadows instead of the object casting them.
Right, the surface level.
And Jane had to apply this to her own shadows. She spent over 500 days in the hospital toward the end. She had severe arthritis, thyroid issues, profound weight loss.
And here's the inevitable question that listeners always have. If she was the ultimate channel for the mechanics of creating your own reality, why was she so sick? Like, if belief dictates the pattern of the CUs, why couldn't she just believe her way out of a wheelchair?
It's a tough question, but it requires us to look past the surface of, basic positive thinking and dive into the deep unconscious directives we give our biology. Jane came to realize through this material that her physical body was not a failing machine. It wasn't a mechanical object breaking down randomly.
Okay, so what was it?
She had to learn to see her body as a magnificent living orchestration of trillions of aware CUs. And remember, those CUs are incredibly obedient to the directives of the primary consciousness, Jane herself.
So the body wasn't failing, it was faithfully executing a command.
Exactly. Seth identified a deeply stubborn subconscious belief system within Jane that he called her sinful self.
I want to break down the mechanics of this. What does a psychological concept like a sinful self actually do to a CU in a joint or a muscle? Because this is the practical application right here.
Right. And this wasn't about religious sin, just to be clear. It was a rigid belief that demanded superhuman perfection. Jane felt an immense, crushing responsibility to be the perfect channel, the perfect worker, carrying the weight of this massive philosophical revelation for the world.
Oh, wow. That is a heavy burden.
It was. Subconsciously, she feared the unpredictable chaos of normal physical life would interfere with this sacred duty. So her belief system sent out highly charged EE units of fear and restriction.
And those EE units hit the coordinate points within her own cellular structure?
Yes. The unconscious directives were basically stay still, be safe, do not move out into the unpredictable world, focus entirely on the inner reality.
Oh my God.
And the CUs in her joints and muscles, acting on their cooperative nature, faithfully executed that blueprint. They literally crystallized. They stopped their spontaneous motion. Her physical immobility was a highly efficient, physically manifested protection mechanism.
The CUs locked up because she told them to? I mean, that removes all victimhood. But it also places a terrifying amount of responsibility on the individual. It means her body wasn't betraying her, it was obeying her perfectly.
And the realization of that obedience was the turning point for her deeper healing, even amid her physical decline. Seth taught her that the body's consciousness is filled with exuberance. Its main natural direction is always toward health and value fulfillment.
So she had to stop fighting the symptoms. She had to stop seeing the arthritis as this invading force.
Exactly. Seth told her it was completely futile to be angry at a symptom, because the symptom is just presenting you with a corporeal replica of your own thought.
A replica of your thought. That's powerful.
Jane had to soften those rigid expectations of superhuman perfection. As she lay in the hospital, stripped of her superhuman image, having to rely on nurses just to be lifted, her sinful self-belief actually began to crumble.
And what happened to the CUs when that belief crumbled?
The restrictive directives lifted. She began to find a profound sense of camaraderie with the physical world. She wrote extensively in the hospital about the realization of fellowship. By dissolving her sense of isolation, she connected to the vast cooperative web of all life.
She tapped into the wave state.
She did. She understood that every cell in her body was intricately linked to the consciousness of the Earth itself. She found deep psychic and spiritual peace by realizing that even her physical incapacities were creative ventures efforts on the part of her own inner self to reorganize her life's vast energies.
It's just a staggering way to view physical existence. It turns every illness, every desk, every traffic jam into a living conversation with the
The
universe.
living conversation, yes.
But for the listener, this still remains a massive philosophical download. It's beautiful to think about CUs and the living nature of the environment, but how do we feel it? How does a listener actively experience this unseen reality today instead of just cataloging it as an interesting quantum theory?
Well, Seth didn't just dictate theory, he provided highly specific practical applications. So to move this from theory into direct perception, we are going to introduce an advanced technique derived directly from the teachings.
Perfect.
It is designed to deliberately shatter the culturally ingrained illusion of dead matter. It is the CU awareness meditation.
I am ready. Walk us through the mechanics of it.
I will guide you, the listener, through it now. Sit quietly wherever you are. Place your hand on a solid object nearby, a table, a book, your own knee. Close your eyes. First, bring your awareness to the standard sensation of solidity. Feel the texture, the temperature, the rigid resistance of the object against your skin.
Just acknowledge what your physical senses are telling you.
Right. The brain is registering density and boundary. Now gently shift your perceptive mechanism. Imagine that the solid surface beneath your hand is not a continuous block. Visualize it as a vibrant, oscillating field of tiny, aware points of light consciousness units dancing in intricate, highly organized patterns.
Yeah.
Feel the aliveness within the apparent solidity. Recognize that the CUs in your hand and the CUs in the object are not separated by empty space. They are interacting. Your energy and their energy are mingling, exchanging information at speeds faster than light.
That's incredible to visualize.
And then silently, with profound respect, greet them. Say internally, I acknowledge you. Thank you for forming this reality with me.
You know, if you truly commit to that interaction, it bypasses mental visualization and becomes a deeply somatic experience. It often results in a tangible physical shift. You might feel a sudden warmth radiating under your palm, or a distinct tingling in your fingertips, or even just an unexpected wave of deep emotional connection to the room you are in.
And that physical shift is your nervous system translating your new expansive belief into physical data. You are momentarily bypassing the heavy camouflage of 3D reality and tuning into the wave state of the CUs.
You're aligning with the truth of the form.
You align your conscious perception with the actual mechanical reality of the universe. To quote Seth directly on the ultimate nature of this reality, the universe is not a collection of objects. It is a community of aware beings.
A community of aware beings. If you carry that premise with you, the concept of isolation becomes scientifically impossible. You are never alone in an empty room. The walls are literally humming with cooperative intent. The floor is supporting you out of a deeply innate desire for value fulfillment.
To cement this paradigm shift, we have a direct 24-hour exercise for you, the listener. It is designed to train the invisible muscles of your consciousness.
What is the assignment? Let's give them the homework.
The directive is simple but requires dedicated focus. Sometime today, perform the CU awareness meditation with one physical object for exactly 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Set a timer. Do not rush the process. Spend the full 5 minutes acknowledging the aware units composing that specific object, whether it's your coffee mug or your steering wheel. Afterward, take out a journal and briefly answer 2 questions. What did I sense, and how did the solid object feel different after the meditation?
The journaling is a crucial mechanic here, right? Writing it down pulls the multidimensional experience from the fleeting, subjective mind and forces it to coagulate into the physical world. It grounds the energy.
Yes, exactly.
Practicing this consistently opens a literal psychological door. It trains your brain's neural pathways to perceive the brilliant aliveness and cooperative nature of all things around you.
It moves the Seth material from an intellectual exercise into your daily lived experience.
Sitting here, talking through the mechanics of coordinate points and the aware nature of matter, I feel the very ground of reality shifting. The world is no longer a static, neutral stage where events just happen to me. It's a living, breathing partner. Matter is alive, it is aware, and it is constantly, unceasingly responding to our deepest intent. Every object around us is participating in our existence.
The participation never stops, not even when you close your eyes. I want to leave the listener with one final mind-expanding concept from Seth's cosmology to ponder tonight. Seth teaches that during sleep, Your consciousness travels at speeds faster than light, completely unanchored from the heavy, slow frequencies of physical matter.
Because it drops the boundaries.
Yes. If the objects around you are made of CUs that exist everywhere at once as waves, and your mind enters that exact same wave state when you dream, then your dreams are not just random, idle, neurological fantasies.
They are functional.
They are the drafting room of reality. Tonight, when you drift off to sleep, you are not shutting down. You are actively stepping into the wave state to meet with the very units of consciousness that will eagerly coagulate to form your physical world tomorrow.